गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। Today we are going to talk of something very interesting. We're going to talk of Pakistan, which is the artificial country between two artificial lines. This is a simple truth which has been staring at us from 1947, but we've not been able to grasp it. We've not been able to grasp it till recently. General Shokin Chauhan, who's here alongside me, wrote an article on this. Before I explain what he wrote in his article and a set of articles, what he wrote, everything, I'd like to welcome General Shokin Chauhan. He's coming on Gunner Shot after a long time. Shokin, it's a pleasure to have you back on Gunner Shot. Good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot once again. Can't hear you. You're muted. You're muted. Yeah. Can you speak? No. That's a pity. I can't hear you. To everyone, we were just hearing each other and having a conversation. All of a sudden, it's gone. I would suggest General Shokin Chauhan, I'll introduce all your articles. In the meantime, please log out and log back in. Right? As his thing is going to come back, let me explain to you what he's written. He's written 4 articles, and these 4 articles are part of his Substack. He's got a Substack profile. Go into it. These are the 4 articles where he talks of Pakistan as an artificial country between two disputed lines, where he says Pakistan is an artificial country between two disputed lines, a nation whose borders were drawn by others and whose existence depends on the tensions those borders continue to create. So the important thing is the borders create tensions for Pakistan. Then the next article which he's written, I think is very important, the captured republic, where Pakistan's military and the illusions of Islamic destiny, where he highlights that there are very few military institutions in the post-colonial world order that have shaped their nation's destiny as profoundly as Pakistan Army. In fact, the Pakistan Army has captured Pakistan and the nation as a whole. The third article he's written is about, Pakistan's army's strategic posture. Why our war will never end. That is the context of India and Pakistan. He makes a very legitimate point, and that is the Pakistan army does not fight for the moment. It fights for continuity. Victory or defeat of a particular event is irrelevant to it. It has to continue in perpetuity. And that is the ethos of Pakistan. Victory as per Pakistan is the ability to continue fighting. And that's the continuity it talks of. And then the fourth article, he talks of the mirage of an Islamic NATO, of Pakistan and Turkey and the quest for Muslim military unity. And he talks of the dream of Islamic NATO, a coalition of Muslim majority nations bound by faith and purpose, was not born in the corridors of strategy but in the rhetoric of wounded pride. When you look at it deeply, each of these Muslim countries, big, small, or others, want to dominate the other. They are not prepared to cooperate under any condition. If someone wants a caliphate, someone wants something, right, whatever. And Pakistan wants to ride all tigers, which it can't. And these 4 articles give everything out in great detail. For those of you, we'll hear what he has to say about his own ideas when he's written this. But I would suggest all these articles and the links I've put in the description of this video. Have a look at it and you'll get a full idea as to what this whole story is all about. With this, let's make an attempt to get back to General Shokin Chauhan. Shokin, can you hear me first? I can't hear you again. I can't hear you at all. Can everyone hear him? So I think you'll have to completely log out and close your computer and get back. No, even the audience can't hear you, which means there's a issue. Just put your computer off and come back. We'll hold the line. Log out completely. Yeah. Now, as he'll come back, one of the things I was discussing about him, right, and with him in great detail was the fact that, yeah, it's okay. We'll just come back. Many times, just putting the computer off and on will work. It's the fact that the Pakistan army can't be defeated in a war. They fought so many wars with us. And I keep mentioning, and they keep getting defeated. But every time the Pakistan army keeps getting defeated, it comes back stronger. And this is a realism we have to understand. Now, hence, the need of the day, and which we have to understand very clearly, is you have to defeat Pakistan army politically. And in that defeat, we have to destroy the relevance of Pakistan army in that country. That can happen only two ways. Either you completely discredit the army by a huge war, which probably we will not be able to do without getting affected ourselves, especially in this nuclear environment. The other is break up Pakistan. We don't know whether either is feasible. But you have to work with a political thinking of how to sort out Pakistan. And this is what we'll wait for General Shokin Chauhan to come back, and and I've spoken enough about it. And we need to understand this. This is a army which has captured the nation. Right? It has captured the nation because independence, on independence, uh, Pakistan inherited many things, but never a structure. It didn't have a structure. Yeah, he's come back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Absolutely. Yeah,
Clear.
great. Okay.
I was
So as I was
busy
telling
tonight.
everyone, yeah, as I was telling everyone to patch in, I was telling everyone that what we were discussing, apart from the four beautiful articles you have written, is the fact that Pakistan army cannot be defeated militarily. It has to be
Yes.
defeated and destroyed politically. So with this thought, I'll hand over the whole story to you. General Shokin Chauhan, please take over.
Good evening, Priya sir. Thank you for calling me to your show. It's always such a pleasure to be a part of your of such a wonderful show, and to have you, especially there, anchoring it. Uh, with the knowledge that you possess, and uh, that we take forward wonderful conversations. And it's always an honor to be with you. So let's start where Pakistan began. When I started writing about Pakistan, I was looking at an endless war. That's the main issue. Is that why is it since 1947-48, India and Pakistan are locked in an endless war? That was my contention. And that's where I started researching, looking at things, because I'm a third generation soldier, and my father was commissioned in 1946, 40, 47, 48 war. Then he fought the 62 war, then the 65 war, then the 71 war. So he was in a generation with 43 main battles, main wars. And I often used to wonder, is that Why, despite being neighbors and having so much in common culturally, we continue to fight? And there's no point blaming the British for it. There has to be another sort of issue. So I would like to start this story from where Pakistan began, not in geography, not in culture, not in civilizational memory, but as Shankar sir and me were talking about, in politics. Pakistan is not an organic evolution of a people. It was a political surgery performed in haste by an empire, the British Empire, which was desperate to exit. A partition done not with understanding, mind you, but with exhaustion. The British wanted to get out as soon as possible. They couldn't take another problem. They wanted to divide the Hindus and Muslims as quickly as possible and get out of the country. So they carried out this botched surgery. West Pakistan and East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, had no shared language. They had no shared history, no shared geography. And how can a nation exist without all these issues? What they had in common was fear of being outnumbered, fear of political marginalization. And to that point, I agree with General Shankar, is that politically, the problem lies in the politics of the creation of Pakistan. The fear of political marginalization. Here, during the Mughal Empire, a particular religion or a particular sect of people were rulers. And suddenly they found that in this large majority of Hindus, they were losing their power. And that is the fear that they had, that if we're going to lose we will be politically marginalized, because Hindus are much a larger entity of people. And that is what that is what made Junnah want to create another country. A fear of a large united India becoming unconquerable by external influence. That's something I wanted to understand, that no matter what happens, India, Pakistan, and South Asia occupy such a strategic location in the world. If you just look at the way the Indian Peninsula juts into the Indian Ocean, you will understand why the Indian Ocean is named the Indian Ocean. We are the only country that has an ocean named after us. The others, the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Arctic, are not named after any country. But we are the only ones because we dominate the Indian Ocean. We are, we get inside. We're like a dagger in the ocean. So when an artificial nation is born, when you create a country out of fear, you create within it the need for a perpetual enemy. I must repeat this particular line again, is that when you create a country out of fear, you create within it the need for a perpetual enemy. And Pakistan's founders found that enemy in India. So it was not Kashmir that has created this constant battle with them. It is their need for a perpetual enemy, the need that they were created against an enemy, and that enemy has to remain an enemy. That became their anchor of self-definition. Islam became the glue that held together the Punjabis, the Sindhis, the Baloch, the Pashtuns, the Bengalis. But what General Shankar and we were talking about, and what is also there when I talked about and written about the Pakistan, the Muslim NATO, is that Islam is too large, too diverse, too global to serve as a single political adhesive. So the state reinvented itself as a garrison, as a fortress. And inside this garrison, the Pakistan army became the keeper of ideology, the guardian of the borders, the owner of the politics, the custodian of the narrative. That's something, when you understand why, and when you try and find out why is this continuity in battle, why is this continuity in hate, why is it perpetuity? This is the reason that when it became a fortress, the Pakistan itself became a fortress, a garrison. And what is a garrison? It's an army garrison, right? So The army became the keeper of the ideology of Pakistan. It became the guardian of the borders. It became the owner of politics, became the custodian of the narrative. And that brings us on to the article I wrote, the artificial lines. Pakistan's first inherited wound, the Durand line. Drawn in 1893 by Sir Mortimer Durand, the British drew a line through the mountains with no regard for the tribes whose homes, families, and histories it cut through. Afghanistan had no regard for these tribes, absolutely none. Not then and not today. Not even under the Taliban, despite decades of Pakistani support. So when Pakistan started life with a border that its neighbor rejects and its own Pashtuns resent, today this border is an open wound, it's a living wound. Every day you have skirmishes erupting. Taliban challenges Pakistani posts. Tribal loyalties override national ones. Fencing it only reinforces its artificiality. So that's an important issue. That a country cannot be stable when its largest ethnic group feels divided by a colonial line that actually no one acknowledges as legitimate. Neither the Pashtuns nor the Afghanis acknowledge the Durand line as a legitimate line. And it is not legitimate, it's just a line drawn across tribes that lived there. So when it inherited this problem, what did Pakistan do? It didn't solve it. It only militarized it. There's a huge difference between solving and militarizing. And every time the Afghan Taliban refuses to recognize the Durand line, it exposes Pakistan internal contradictions. How can a state that speaks of self-determination in Kashmir deny it to the Pashtuns at home? It's a contradiction, right? How can a nation that speaks for freedom for Kashmiris enforce a colonial border on its own tribes? How can a country that insists Kashmir is unfinished business ignore the unfinished business on its western flank? So this is the argument of my research and my talk, is that the entire argument of Kashmir being unfinished business is actually incorrect because it is ignoring the unfinished business of the Durand line. Of the largest tribe there is, the Pashtuns, it ignores that issue. So now let's move east to the line of control. This line also was born in blood. It came into existence because Pakistan invaded Kashmir in 1947 using tribal raiders, believing that the land and its people could be taken by force. India pushed them back. We were a bigger army. A ceasefire was drawn. Later, it was renamed the line of control. But this line is not a quiet demarcation that you guys think. It is a living, breathing front where snipers watch each other through fogged scopes, where villages along the line of control sleep light because shelling can rewrite their destiny in a moment, where ceasefire is temporary and every silence is suspicious. Am I right, Shankar sir?
Yep,
The idea
100%.
that when you spend as long as we have, both General Shankar and me have spent a long time on the border, when you spend long enough time on India's border, especially the harsh ones, and as you would probably know, I commanded my division, the 8th Mountain Division along the Kargil. So that's a really harsh border from the Zojila Pass to the Batalik. The 8th Mountain Division looks at that complete line of control. Winter sits on your shoulders like a burden. You start realizing something fundamental. And here I'm going to use words that are important. Borders don't lie. People do. Governments do. Propaganda does. But borders, especially troubled borders, always tell the truth. They tell you what a nation fears, what it hides, what it aspires to be, and what it will never become. And there is no other country in this region whose borders speak louder than Pakistan's. No other country. Two borders in particular, Durand Line and the Line of Control. to lines drawn by other men in other times for other reasons. And somewhere between these two disputed frontiers lies Pakistan, which is an artificial state trying to convince itself and the world that it was meant to be. And that's what I want to speak to you, not about those lines, but what they reveal. The psychology of a nation that has lived for 77 years between security and illusion, between denial and dependency. Between the two lines, it has never been able to stabilize. So these are issues that that we have to understand about these lines. I have stood on these lines as Jan Shankar has. I've seen Pakistan's obsession with Kashmir and what it has cost Pakistan, along with what it has cost us. I've seen the pattern repeated. If you study the 1965 war that my father fought in 1999, we were both commanding officers, commanding our unit during Operation Vijay. In the line, in the years of infiltration and proxy war, we both spent a long time fighting this proxy war. Pakistan simply cannot accept this line of control because accepting it means accepting the decision of the Maharaja of Kashmir, accepting legal accession to India, accepting that Kashmir is not an unfinished business of partition. It was a finished business. Moment the Raja, the Maharaja of Kashmir, acceded Kashmir to India, it was a finished business. Only in Pakistan's mind it's unfinished because this is one narrative that justifies the Pakistan army's dominance over its civilian population. And probably the Kargil conflict is the clearest example of how far this deception runs. You're aware, Mr. Vajpayee shook hands with Nawaz Sharif in Lahore. The Pakistani soldiers had already crossed the line of control. Their own government denied they were soldiers. Can you believe that? Young officers and men were left, their bodies were left unclaimed. That's, they were denied the honor of a soldier's death. Their sacrifice was dismissed. It is among the most cynical betrayals of soldiers by their own state. And yet, it was that entirely consistent with Pakistan's national strategy. And here I'll be use little harsh words: deniability, deception, dependence on proxy forces to achieve what cannot be achieved conventionally. So now here I want you to put the Durand line and the line of control together. Here the picture emerges. It's not just a conflict, it's insecurity. Pakistan lives between two disputed lines because it was born disputed. It never had the time to become a normal state. It became its state in a perpetual siege mode, a state where the military views peace as a threat and conflict as a necessity. And in this garrison state lives a population that is divided by ethnicity and united by propaganda. That's why Pakistan is able to pass its propaganda so fast. That's why they believe in this propaganda. The Pakistan military have mastered the narrative of fear. India is the threat, Afghanistan is unreliable, America is fickle, Iran is dangerous. And the only stable institution in Pakistan is its army. That now has become the voice, the identity, the economy, the ideology. Civilian governments come and go, but the army remains that one institution that can never be questioned. But let's talk about now the fault lines, because beneath this camouflage of the Pakistan army, Pakistan has more internal fault lines than external ones. Let me sort of put them to notice. Pashtun nationalism is there in the northwest. Durand line is not accepted. The Pashtuns have been Pashtuns for 5,000 years. They will get together sometime or the other. Durand line will be wiped out sometime or the other. What is 77 years compared to the 5,000 years that Pashtuns have been Pashtuns? Pashtun nationalism is in the northwest. Baloch insurgency is in the south. Sindhis are resentful. Shias and Sunni got their tension throughout. Punjabi dominance, economic crisis. The TTP is turning on the Pakistan state. Afghan Taliban is hostile. Every border Pakistan has today is contested either by history, by tribes, or by its own contradictory ambitions. Everything. So the real question is not whether Pakistan faces a two front threat. It doesn't. The real question is whether Pakistan has ever been able to stabilize even one border. Because Pakistan's biggest threat is not India, it's not Afghanistan. Its biggest threat is its own inability to define beyond the narrative of the conflict. And that brings me to a more deeper point, one that India and we as Indians must understand and use intelligently. Pakistan's foreign policy is designed not for peace, but for preservation of military dominance. Every crisis, and I keep saying it, and not just me, Christine Fair has said this. Every crisis helps the Pakistan army. She said this after Op Sindoor. She said, "You cannot defeat Pakistan. You cannot stop these continuing terrorist threats to our country because after every defeat, the Pakistan army becomes stronger. Every escalation brings more budgets, more control, more justification for curbing democratic voices. Peace is dangerous for the Pakistan army. It threatens the power of the only institution that has ruled Pakistan. And this is the dichotomy of what we must understand about Pakistan. The fact that they're not looking for peace. And then I argue this in my article, which General Shankar mentioned, that why this war will never end. It will never end because there is going to be perpetual. It is only looking for war. And each war, each time Pakistan is defeated, the army gets stronger. So those voices which keep saying get into Pakistan, beat Pakistan, don't it doesn't mean anything to them. You can't break their army, you can't destroy their army. Then this is where India can shape its narrative. And this is where, Shankar sir, we must continuously highlight Pakistan's artificiality of borders. We must highlight the contradictions in its positions. In global forums, India must remind the world that even Afghanistan rejects the Durand lines. The Pashtuns reject Pakistan's colonial inheritance. Baltistan is denied constitutional rights. Kashmir illegally acceded to India, and the line of control exists because Pakistan chose war, not peace. It's not us, it is them. And we must expose the selective morality and self determination because that ends at the Durand line. In its rhetoric on human rights, when one looks at the Baloch, the entire rhetoric of Pakistan's human rights collapses when you see how they're doing what they're doing to the Baloch. Its claims of democratic governance crumble moment you see Pakistan Army's shadow. And we also must recognize something very, very clearly, which I've also spoken about in my article on Pakistan being an artificial state. Artificial states rarely collapse suddenly. They endure through inertia. I'm not talking, this is history talking. They endure through inertia, through external support, through the sheer weight of their military institutions. Pakistan has survived for decades because the world has indulged its insecurities. And the world will continue indulging in its insecurities. It's a nuclear power, it'll carry out, it'll self destruct. These are insecurities of the world. So Pakistan actually threatens us by holding a gun to its own head. It has survived for decades because the world has indulged these insecurities, armed its military, forgiven its terror proxies, and accepted its duplicity as a geopolitical necessity. And that is why you find Pakistan is able to balance China and the US together. Because they just accept the duplicity of Pakistan as a geopolitical necessity. That's the issue. Nothing to do with us. It's just its own, it's the weight of its own contradictions. But history is a big it's a very big arbiter here. History shows that states built on fear eventually will face the consequences of their contradictions. For Pakistan, the decades ahead will be defined not by India, but from pressures from within, ethnic, economical, ideological. India's role is not to push Pakistan into instability, because a greater unstable Pakistan becomes a more dangerous Pakistan for us. So it's dangerous anyway, whether it is stable or unstable, it is dangerous, right? So we have to be prepared for perpetual war. Uh, but the idea is that unless we destroy the Pakistan army, and for that you require a much, much greater effort than this, Pakistan will remain what it is. Our role is continuously and consistently revealing the truth. Pakistan cannot preach what it does not practice, cannot demand justice while denying it on its own soil, cannot speak of Kashmir without answering for the Durand line. It can the Pashtuns, the Baloch, and the millions displaced by its own internal conflicts. So when I look back at the ridgelines of Kashmir, where I have spent almost 15 to 20 years of my life, I also think of the mountains of the Khyber and realize something simple. Pakistan's tragedy is that the borders were drawn artificially. Most borders are, right? Pakistan's tragedy is that it never tried to rise above those borders, never allowed its people to define the nation beyond conflict, and never allowed its democracy to breathe without military permission. These are important issues. What should India do? We must remain vigilant because we have to fight this perpetual war. We must be firm on defense. There is no question that we let go our defense. We must be prepared to fight every day for our existence. We must be sure that there can be no peace. We have to defend our line. We must be firm in defense, mature in diplomacy, and create a strategy that is long term. Be patient in strategy. Because while Pakistan's borders were drawn by empires, ours were shaped by civilization. That's the issue and the difference between the Indian borders. We were shaped by civilization, 5,000-year-old civilization. Pakistan just a small blip of 77 years. So while Pakistan searches for identity through conflict, India must find its identity through the continuity of its civilization. That's my view.
Yeah. Uh, I
Yes,
think
sir.
you covered it very well, and I would like to highlight something and maybe like you to comment on that also. If you go back into the times when we were young, the normal exercises which we used to confront with Pakistan till brass tacks and before that was that Pakistan would invade India and break India and balkanize India. Till the mid 80s, the talk of in the India Pakistan scenario or in
Mm,
a global scenario was when will India balkanize? And
mm.
in that, Pakistan was the
The
ascendant
key architect, the hatchet.
yeah, hatchet. But somewhere after brass tacks, 85, 86, everything, things started changing. And even in our thinking and our everything, we no more talk of defending against Pakistan. That now out of the question. And Pakistan has gone on the defensive. And I would like to put across what General Shokin said about our civilizational ethos. The thinking internationally, and it used to be, megaphone through Pakistan, was that India is an unnatural state. A lot of princes or principalities which were put together by force. Put some pressure on them, they'll all break, and then we can come back and rule. What people missed out was that India had the civilizational connect with more than 5,000 years. He's saying if convenient 5,000, I would say more than that, million years. Right? We've come through that. We've not only been a civilization, we've absorbed other civilizations into our folds or strains of other civilizations and melded them into what we are. We are what we are with all our inconsistencies. And it can't be broken. And we seek peace. because it is in having peace externally that we can continue to grow, and that's a realization which all of us have. But the flip of that has happened in Pakistan. Pakistan, which was a, you know, after the breakaway of East Pakistan, the West Pakistan, which was thought will be one homogeneous force, but that has not endured. It has not endured because, like what General Shokin Chauhan says, there is no, they don't have the weight of civilization behind them. They don't have a idea of what they are supposed to be. They have a problem of identity. And they were, the Durand line was artificial. So was the Radcliffe line. And the extension of the Radcliffe line being the LOC was also artificial. So this is a state which had always two borders, two artificial lines, and artificials and contested lines always generate tensions. And those tensions are like, lens, inward lens, which focus inward and are now fracturing the state, right? And one of the things which General Shokin Chauhan in another article of his, he talks of the captured republic and Pakistan's military and the illusion of Islamic destiny. One of the inward focus of this nation has been to turn to religion. And their manifest destiny today lies in Islam. And Pakistan army is the guardian of that strategic frontier which is called Islam. It is no more the guardian of their borders. It is their ideological frontier which Pakistan, guards, or the Pakistan army guards. And that, as per them, as per their writing, gives them the ability to continue fighting. And victory for them is the ability to continue fighting. I'd like you to explain this because you explained this very well in the second article of yours. Spend about 5-10 minutes and then we'll take question on this.
So the issue here, what my contention was, that because Pakistan was created in a particular manner, the army captured power. And when the army captured power, the army only feels there is only one way to continue this power. Is by continuously creating a problem within Pakistan and a problem with Pakistan's external borders with India. Because you could not have created Pakistan without an enemy. Like I explained to you in the beginning, they needed an enemy to create a separate country. Now they created this enemy. They can't stay together. So you have to keep redefining this enemy. And with each redefinition of this enemy, the garrison state of Pakistan that is defended in its mind by their army becomes stronger because he has to get more power. He has to get more power because he says he needs to be modernized. He needs more weapons. He needs more people under command. And they are then grabbing the internal resources of Pakistan. And they are grabbing these internal resources, but what are they doing? They're selling these internal resources to other people. Why? Because they're grabbing money for themselves. So in the captured republic, I have been very clear about redefining this relationship between the army and its people, the army and its political, actually should have been political masters who were chosen by the people. The army is unaccountable. Today, failed Field Marshal Munir has decided to make himself the Chief of Defense Forces. He decided that he is the final arbiter. And now they've passed Article 27 in the Constitution, which also will never allow him to be tried by his own people for all the things he's doing. So these are the issues. In each one of my articles, my arguments are similar. That this is a army that runs the country. It is not a country that has an army. It is an army that has a country. And to exist, that army must continuously have an enemy. Because armies by nature need an enemy to grow. And it would be a very important study to see how the Pakistani politicians can actually grow here, because the army will simply not allow them to grow. So all these linkages that Pakistan has, all these situations, the lines that were drawn by the colonizers, must understand, may confine nations for a while, but they will never define them forever. Pakistan still has to choose what it wants to. And until it does, it will continue to live within these two disputed lines, not just on the map, but in its very soul. It cannot exist otherwise. Because the reason for the existence of Pakistan was its enmity with a larger country like India. That's the whole idea, sir. So over to
Yeah,
you.
thanks a lot. I think you explained it rather well. And, the only guy who can reverse all this, good, bad, or ugly, is sitting in jail, Imran Khan, because he didn't, he wanted to put the army back in barrack. So the army has put him in a barrack and maybe in
Yes,
perpetuity, right?
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. And
Yes.
I, I mean, I'm of the opinion that, look, for the sake of Pakistan, I wish Imran Khan comes out, takes over the country, puts this army in the barracks, and ruins Pakistan. Because from that ruins, a real Pakistan could grow. Could grow, right? I don't
I
know whether it
doubt,
will grow.
I doubt very much, sir. I doubt very
Maybe,
much that
maybe,
Pakistan can grow.
maybe. But that's their best hope at this point of time.
I doubt very much, because throughout my years, and you and me have had similar careers, 40 plus years of service, I have learned that an army's strength lies not in the weapons that it carries, but in the restraint with which it
Yeah,
wields them. Pakistan's tragedy is that its army never learned this truth
yeah,
from the very inception, and Pakistan's army has been using the sword and the sultan, sword
yes,
and Islam, claiming the right to rule under the pretext of protecting a very fragile faith. So, what actually was a professional institution in 1947, when we became divided, is now a theocratic corporation governing politics, economy, ideology, and religion. It's no
yeah,
longer the guardian of the republic. It's actually the republic itself. And
yes,
that's something we have to understand, that it wields control not just over guns, but over governance, ideology, national narrative, and nuclear weapons. And
yep,
if we look at 2035, what kind of Pakistan army will dominate? Will it continue to dominate? Will it continue to become rational? Or will it be a radicalized military corporate theocracy that holds the key to the state's nuclear, polity, and treasury? That's an important issue. You have to understand that as time goes by, we've seen nothing has improved. We thought after 1971, after destroying Pakistan's army, capturing 93,000 prisoners, bringing them to India, we would have peace. It won't happen. No matter how we treated the prisoners, how well we treated them, how well we showed them the full faith, full power of our civilization, it still went back to the same situation. Will it in the years to come become a rational institution? That's what you were probably talking about. It's not possible. It will continue to be a radicalized military corporate theocracy. It will hold the
yep,
keys, and it will hold those keys even stronger. The keys to the nuclear arsenal, the polity, and the treasury.
right. So I think it's very clear that we are in for the long haul. We already hauled 77 years with Pakistan. We're going to have a longer haul with it and keep contending with this. Because there's no military solution to Pakistan. There's only a political solution. Will that political solution come about? Not till the Pakistan army is around. So we are in a catch 22 situation, whichever way you look at it, and we are destined to live with this problem, nuisance on our western border. So the best we can do as a nation is to start looking inward and grow. And I leave it at that at this point of time because that's what we have to start realizing as far as Pakistan is concerned. We'll talk of China on another day. I'll take a few questions now so that we get some views in. Okay. First, before that, I'd like to thank Quora Fat for Quora, yeah, Food for becoming a member, and so Anand also for becoming a member, and Kevwar who's given 5 Ganashot memberships. Those of you who've been gifted these memberships, please do continue with it on your own. Okay, let me take some questions. How can Pakistan and Afghanistan and Bangladesh complain about genocide when they did this and still do it in their Islamic ideas are evil and adharma? I think we should not give them anything to them, medical aid, food, yeah, whatever. Your views. I think it's conveyed the sentiment.
Basically, it means that you don't help your neighbors, right? Now, if there is a natural disaster which has affected people, we may not have any choice to help people. After all, in 1971, when 5 million to 6 million Bangladesh refugees came into India, we had to help them. Similarly, Myanmar is going through 16 different insurgencies. We've had to help almost 60,000 people have come into India, in Mizoram and Manipur. So, natural disasters in South Asia, India is the largest country. Uh, we would be able to help, but not doing anything to the people is a different story from dealing with Pakistan's army. So this you have to understand. Our narrative is to deal with Pakistan's army because that army is perpetuating this conflict. Anything
Yeah,
from your side? What do you feel?
no,
It is
I'm okay.
we have to focus on the Pakistan army more importantly than the Pakistani people. It is that army which is actually creating this problem for us.
Yeah,
You know, a new officer cadre has actually emerged in the Pakistan army. It's been shaped by decades of exposure to jihadist narratives and anti-India indoctrination. So this army's radicalization may not be overtly visible in uniform. It manifests itself through its choice of narratives, public statements, policy preferences. These are the issues. The army is becoming more and more radicalized because the officers are being trained that way. And we must not lose focus on and differentiate. We must differentiate between two things, the people and the army. In this case, the army is the evil institution there. And
right.
I will go off the institution that we can defeat. Yeah.
Uh, General Shankar and General Chauhan, citizens salute the current reigns of Pakistan are in the hands of USA or Church of England, and does Asim Munir follow completely the Wahhabi Saudi school of thought?
Neither. Asif Munir follows his own prophet, and the Pakistan army follows their own prophet. Pakistan army will use USA, they will use everybody else, but they will follow their own need for profit. And you have to understand, and I think it was Aisha Siddiqui who wrote Pakistan Army Incorporated. Am I right, sir?
Yeah,
When she wrote about the
Milbus.
businesses that the Pakistani army is doing. So the Pakistan army will continue to make its own profit. They will give lip service to the others, but they remain what they are. You know, uh, people who are greedily eating the resources of the state.
Yeah, he says you don't know how much the Pakistanis hate their army. Do you think this is has some value?
Whether Pakistan hates their army or not, the Pakistan army controls the country. And if one day the Pakistani people stand up against their army, I'm sure we will be able to help them out.
Yeah, they have to have the gumption to stand. It's up to the people
Absolutely.
of Pakistan.
I do agree.
But
Because
yeah,
if they hated their army in 1971, when we had finished their army, that was the right time to change.
yeah. General Shokin Chauhan has a lovely choice of words. No wonder he writes so well and conveys the message as well. Yeah, that's true. That's why I
Thank you,
picked him up.
Karthik. Thank you, Karthik.
Uh, okay, this is a very interesting thing he said. That the definition of Pakistan is not restricted to its geography between the two so-called lines. It is just one dimension. Geography of Pakistan is like a host to the idea of Pakistan, which is the parasite. I think
Good point. Good point. I
it's
can
an
say nothing
interesting.
more because it's a statement, not a question.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. After listening to today's knowledgeable session, I'm convinced that first we have to accept POK legislative members raise their voice for Baluch in UN and terrible human rights. Yeah, you have to go the political route. Yeah, your views.
Yeah, eventually, what we have to actually sensitize our own countrymen is the illegality of the state of Pakistan and the illegality of their claims, the irrationality of their claims, and the fact that they continuously talk of Kashmir and human rights when they all have actually created these problems. We first have to sensitize our own countrymen for us to understand. And next, we have to talk about that one institution of Pakistan which is creating all these problems. And once we understand these two issues, I think we'll be able to deal with Pakistan in a much better manner.
Yeah. There's a philosophical comment. He says, Sir, since the 80s, all the bad things Pakistan has done against Bharat has caused bad reaction and fall down for them. They have given us
Okay,
all their good merit and taken away. Yeah, probably, and bad or bad merit, they suffer. That's
absolutely.
okay. Pak is a heady ideological mix of their own version of Islam plus modified Christianity through Western influence plus ironclad communism through partnering with China. Your views?
Pakistan has its own ideology. You have to understand. Pakistan is not being manipulated by other nations. It's a very, very smart bunch of army which is manipulating everybody else. They
Yeah,
are, as I said in the beginning, they are playing the victim. They are playing the irrationality. Every card is what they are playing. Sometimes they play an irrational card. You do this, we will destroy everybody using our nuclear weapons. Sometimes they play the victim. See, we are victims. There is this huge country like India that is trying to destroy us. Sometimes they play the theater of the absurd by saying that they are protecting Islam. So there is no one coherent narrative that comes out of Pakistan. There are several narratives that come out and several narratives that come at different times. But the main ones are that we are the protectors of Islam. We are the victims. The human rights is being done by India, and we are only protecting you. And this is the narrative that they take to the world. Now,
yeah,
why are the other countries? You talked of ironclad communism. It's nothing to do with communism. China is helping Pakistan for its own benefit, that it keeps India subdued to fight in its own backyard so that China can continue to grow. We will never be a threat to China in even economy wise because we will continuously have to fight with Pakistan. America is happy because they're getting natural resources from Pakistan. You have to understand that. They're also happy that they get a place in South Asia where they can deal and they can prevent Russia from coming in. Because after the Central Asian republics is Iran, it is Afghanistan and then Pakistan. As you know, the last 30, 40 years, you had the US in Afghanistan, you had Russia in Afghanistan, then the US came to Afghanistan. So this part of the world is a strategic part. They don't want to leave it. So they have to find strategic reasons to stay here. And there they look at Pakistan's strategic location here. The head of the northernmost part of the Indian subcontinent, where it has a link to China, it has a link to the South Central Asian republics. And they see Pakistan as a moderate republic where they can maybe do business. So these are the issues you have to understand. Pakistan plays its own game. Do not do not think that they're influenced by anybody. They're influenced by own profit, and they don't need to remain as a state, which they will break up otherwise.
Yeah, good evening, General Shankar. Very educative presentation by General Shokin, giving clarity to what exactly Pakistan is comprised. Thanks a lot. What a knowledgeable discussion. I feel lucky to hear this. Yeah, I agree with you completely. Sridhar says, yeah, sir, absolutely scholarly new dimension to international geopolitical thought. Duality defines geopolitical reality is a fantastic analysis. Thanks for your presentation to both generals for enlightening us. Yeah, it says, look, but to finish Pakistan politically, we need deep pockets because US and China have economic heft and Saudi and Middle East have all oil money. Is it possible without deep pockets?
I spoke a little earlier saying we have to have strategic patience. So we will be winners in the long term.
Yeah, there's no doubt on that.
We need to grow our nation today. We must grow it without getting involved in all these silly things. Continue to grow our economy, continue to grow our people. And at some time or the other, we are a 5,000-year-old civilization. We're going to be, we can survive. We have survived many, many, many more things. And we were, we can be, I mean, we will be. The world has no option that India will be one of the top powers of the world. We have no option. That growth has to happen. So we'll have to deal with countries like this who act as spoilers.
Interesting topic, good narration, soft spoken and explanatory. Yeah, that's why I chose General Chauhan. And we've been speaking of it for quite some time. We finally got around to get it. I would suggest to all of you. So, to subscribe to his Substack, site. And I've given the links of all four of his articles. All four of his articles have a central theme. Because I think in our, I mean, look, all of us have read a lot about Pakistan. Most of us, army officers, others, everyone. But in recent contemporary writings, I think these four articles capture the essence of the Pakistan and its army the way it is today. They reflect a contemporary reality in the context of history. It also gives you the contemporary reality in the context of geography. And it also gives you and defines a contemporary reality in the context of a political ideology which the Pakistan army follows. So I'm talking of history, geography, and the political ideology. All three are mixed in when we deal with Pakistan army. And these three things are well captured in all these four articles which I have referenced. Have a read of it and subscribe to Substack. His Substack, right? You'll get a lot of knowledge. You'll get a lot of things, and we'll get him over. We'll get him over to Ganeshwar to talk about it. In fact, when he wrote about Nepal, and he wrote his book about Nepal, we did have a talk of what his thought process about Nepal, and he's given some fantastic ideas about what's happened in Manipur and what's happening in Manipur. To the extent that a lot of Manipuris and cookies and Metis were unhappy with us, and that's okay. That's okay. We need to speak the truth. We should,
Yes.
we have, right, as and his experience of being a DG Assam Rifles has given him that insight of what's happening in Manipur, and of course he's been associated with Manipur thereafter also. So for me it's a pleasure to talk to him on this platform, right? And we'll get him back sooner than later. Yeah, Pakistan army has an easy solution of India to solve its problem. It will not think of anything else, and India has no solutions to it. It's like having a child who causes you a headache no matter what you do. I think there's a very nice perspective.
Also, that child is not growing up. That child has to grow up, right? And that child is not growing up, so it's going to cause you a continuous headache, no matter what you do.
Okay. Can Pakistan and Munir go out this Iraq and Saddam Hussein way?
Unlikely, because they have not done Unlikely. They will continue like this because nations will continue to support them for the reasons I explained to you earlier. They're supporting them for their location. They're supporting them for a million reasons. And even more so now that China is growing the way it's growing, Pakistan has an insight into China. So
Yeah.
there's no, I can't see Pakistan Munir going down Iraq and Saddam Hussein way. It's not going to happen.
Okay. What's your view on India becoming a $10 trillion economy by 2030? Is it possible? I hope it
I
doesn't become personally. Right? I hope it doesn't become, because that'll be tremendous growth rates, and those tremendous growth rates have ruined China. We don't want to be ruined.
I
I'd
think we
rather
should
be
get away with numbers and talk
numbers.
only of growth.
Good growth,
Sustained
not
growth of our
polluted growth,
people.
not corrupt growth, and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, not corrupt. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is again an interesting thing. You might like to take it for what it's worth. He says radicalization in Pak armed forces have two diverging paths. Air Force exposed to UAE, Saudi, Egypt, and Pak army exposed to Taliban, Jaish, Haqqaniya, Barelvis, etc. Well, we'll let this
Again,
come.
what is happening, Shankar sir? All of us are finding a reason for Pakistan to be doing what it is. There's no reason. Pakistan army itself is a radicalized force. It doesn't need exposure to UAE, Saudi, Egypt. They were themselves this much before all this. And
Yeah.
exposed to Taliban. Who created Taliban? Pakistan created Taliban. Please don't forget. So it is Afghanistan's exposure to the Pakistan Taliban that has created these issues.
There's the next question, in fact. If Pak and army officers become increasingly radical, soon they will become an extension of Taliban. Will this not lead to a convergence of long-term interests against them? They are the Taliban, yeah, the original Taliban. तो यही
Created the Taliban. They created this. Afghanistan is a victim of theirs. But one thing you have to be clear about that the Afghan Taliban are today at loggerheads with Pakistan, not just over the Durand line. That is just one issue. There are 100 other issues between Afghanistan and Pakistan, which Afghanistan knows, and they will continue to look at the way Afghanistan should look at their own systems, because otherwise they were being radicalized and they were being manipulated by Pakistan. So it's not the other way. It is the Pakistan army that created Taliban that were radical 30 years ago that will continue to move along the stage of radicalization. And they will influence others because that's what they are like.
Yeah. How concerned should India be of Pak's threat of pulling the region down? Should they fall the Samson's option? They use the argument to gain Western favor. Yeah, that's what the chap Asim Munir did speak of.
So our whole argument is this only that we have to protect ourselves. We have to continue our defense. We have to continue to be capable of holding the line. And we have to continue to show the world a mirror about what Pakistan is. We have to be very clear about where we stand in this world. And we are all talking about the fact that India will grow. India will be one of the powers. It is one of the powers of this world. It will continue to grow.
Yeah, it will continue
There's
to
no
grow. On that,
option
there's
to
no doubt.
it. Yeah, there's no option to it. But we have to also put similar effort on defense because we will continue to be vulnerable on our borders. And
Yeah.
unless we have a strong armed force, this vulnerability on our borders will remain. So please do not take your eyes off. We have Shankar sir and me have spent 44 years. I joined in 76, the National Defense Academy. He joined in 74. We spent all our life in the army. So the next torch is you guys. We have to give the torch to our younger colleagues. You have to go ahead, but don't take your eyes off the ball. The whole idea of gunner's shot is to inform all of you that don't take the eyes off the ball.
Of the ball.
Yeah, keep it there. Keep knowing that we have to hold this line. Don't allow anybody to tell you otherwise.
Yeah. So every time Pakistan loses money, ideology, and radicalism funds their and Ideology loses money. Ideology and radicalism funds their battle. Every time the army loses in war, they win in propaganda. How can we find a way to deal in other dimensions?
So Shankar sir and me, we had a seminar earlier on strategic communication. We have to improve our communication. They might win in the propaganda of lies. They'll not win in the propaganda, the narrative of the truth. So it takes time. We are a vast nation. We will create the right stories. We will be in the situation with speed. And I'm certain that we'll deal with Pakistan. We've been dealing with Pakistan. We're dealing it with
Yes.
absolutely correctly. But there's no rhetoric here and there's no hurry. And we must have strategic patience. Must create a strategy and we must continue with that strategy.
Yeah. So they are blaming the victims for their terror, saying RSS and Hindu rioting, so their Islamic terrorism is fine. I don't agree. It's the same thing, your views. Yeah, you can't equate RSS and what they're in with.
Yeah. We are two soldiers discussing the very professional aspect of India's dealing with the army of Pakistan. We don't want to get carried away by anything else. We are professional soldiers dealing with a very professional subject, a very important subject for India. Let's just keep it to that discussion.
But having said that, also, Rajkumar, let me also put it. RSS and Hindu, whatever you call it, right wing, we are all novices in front of what these chaps are up to.
We
You know,
are.
there's a big difference.
Hmm. But at the same time, this is not our
Yeah, we,
domain.
we don't want to get involved with this kind of a polemic.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Should we look at Sindh first instead of POJK as it has Karachi, the financial capital, also in our national anthem? Seems like a good Mukti operation 2.0. I don't know whether we should. Yeah, your
I
view
think
on this.
we have to look to grow.
Bus.
Yes, so we
That's it.
cannot take our eyes off our economic growth. We have to grow, become a larger, stronger nation, and all this will fall by the wayside.
Yeah. Look, this is this chap is very young. Will
Uh,
India do Op Sindoor resume or chances are low? I'm desperately waiting for it. Or agencies saved from major terror attack, we shouldn't ignore it.
I don't think this is part of our discussion, so we should. I would rather leave it
Yeah,
at
but
that.
look, let me put it to him because a lot of people want to know whether Op Sindoor is going to resume, not resume, all that. Look, when you're young, your blood boils and you want battle. You want blood. Okay. But as you grow old like us, we want peace. Armies exist for peace. Armed forces exist for peace. We want to maintain peace. Okay. And if our uh, agencies have averted a
Very good.
catastrophe, it's good for
Very good.
us. We don't have to go every time because, and we've taught Pakistan a big lesson, right? Whether you like it or not, leave everything else. 12 airfields are 12 airfields, gone. 9 terrorist sites are 9 terrorist sites, gone. They know
Yeah.
it. They know the problem of that. So, you don't keep doing the same thing. And like what General Chauhan said, you don't defeat this army militarily. You have to defeat it politically and ideologically. And that will come through strength, internal strength. And we be patient about it. You go and fight with everyone, your own thing will go down.
Our
Okay,
economic growth must not be
it
jeopardized.
go down. Okay, otherwise, and another thing you must all remember: the best part of Op Sindoor was it finished in 4 days.
Absolutely.
War termination is a big issue. You look at Russia and Ukraine, chala ja raha hai, it's going on. Look at what's happening in Gaza. Look at
Hmm.
what's happening in South China Sea. You think China is in a good condition militarily? Every day they're being harassed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not simple. Okay, we are at least having peace. Only these chaps keep talking. Let them keep talking. Nothing will happen.
Hmm.
Right? Okay, you have anything to add on this aspect? I think we need to give them an idea of why armies exist.
I think this is you made it quite clear, sir. that we have done what we had to do. Termination of conflict is an important thing. Now we need to grow,
Yeah,
and
we
we
need to
have
go.
prevented the terrorist attack. That's all. We will deal with it as time comes.
Yeah,
Not a
right.
problem.
I think we've
And
done. I think today, like most of you have said, we've got a new perspective of Pakistan, narrated calmly, without polemics, without too much emotion, professionally. And I would suggest again, many of you have said, look, you subscribe to this Substack, then Shokin Chauhan Substack. It's Warrior, no? What? Right.
hmm,
So do subscribe to it, but you get an in-depth idea. Because I believe in gunner shot, we need to think rather than act. We need to weigh our words and put across everything in the right perspective rather than talking nonsense. A lot of channels here talk nonsense, and that is one
hmm.
of the reasons why I started this. Like he said, the idea is to democratize our strategy and thinking and growth, democratize our defense so that people know why defense or the armies exist and how they exist and how we behave and how we get peace for India. Like I told you, he's been in Nepal, he's been in Manipur, he's been in Kargil, right? And he's been DG Assam Rifle. He's commanded one corps, which is supposed to be a strike corps, which is to go into Pakistan at some point of time. Okay. Now, with this wealth of experience, the good thing is that we have secured peace. All of us have sweated for the past 40, 45 years to get peace and progress for India, not to fight wars. If you have to fight wars, you have to fight wars to secure peace, not to defeat the enemy, right? And that's why that's the most important thing you have to understand. If you want to have a strong army, navy, or air force, it is for the fundamental reason of securing. You have to invest in it to secure our nation so that we can all grow. Okay, and I'm thankful to Shritik. He says Shokin sir is a gifted writer and both generals rock. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
on this note, we'll conclude today evening's discussion. We'll join in tomorrow morning. Have a great time. And Shokin, a special thanks to you for this wonderful expose,
Pleasure.
right?
Pleasure.
And Jai Hind to everyone, and good evening to you, Shokin.
Pleasure, sir. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.